Okay guys, it is a brand new season of the British Pokemon League and I am delighted to say that the Chroma Colossals are sticking around for a second season in the Premiership. In fairness, we did almost everything that was humanly possible to get ourselves relegated, from the heavy ice-dominated draft selections that we made at the very start of the season through to some catastrophically poor displays of mega ability knowledge as we got through towards the end of the season. But at the very, very end of not so much the regular season, but the end of season relegation last chance saloon, and on top of that, like a bonus round of relegation survival matches, we finally got our heads around megas. It's worth saying that, and it's an excuse, and I'm gonna stick by the excuse, I only really got into competitive Pokemon for Sword and Shield. So when I entered a draft league where Mega Pokemon were all over the place, it was like, okay, this is new territory. I was there for when Megas were being used, but I only ever used them against the computer. I never used them against humans, people who know what they're doing. And so I might have been a little bit outclassed. So I'd like to think that this time around, I'm going to show just a smidge more awareness of the capacity of Mega Pokemon and their respective abilities. But let's see. Now, this is my team reveal. So I've tried to go through all the picks that I made and hopefully try to justify them. The one qualification I should be making is that for the first like 3 or 4 picks that I made, I was on a beach with very little cell coverage, and frankly, I was making draft picks on memory, not the actual tier list itself. So I was like, the draft has started, and I was expecting it to go a bit slower than it did, and I might get back home from the beach. That didn't happen, not until about round 5 of the draft. So what I was picking was very much based on what the hell can I remember from the tier list. And the one thing that I remembered was on there, because I enjoy using Yveltal so much in my VGC team, I thought, well, like sub Yveltal, let's go with Moltres. Is Moltres G still out there? And it was like, okay, it is. So good, we'll have Moltres, because I remembered that was on the tier list. Beyond that, at this stage, we don't really have a plan. We had Moltres, I was like, okay, cool, I like that bird, we'll pick it. And then I was like thinking, well, I need something that will work quite nicely with Moltres. What can I remember from the tier list? Comfey. Comfey's out there. So Comfey comes in. And that's a nice pairing to begin with. Okay, so there's lots of things that you can do with that. There's obviously a policy proc play that can come into that point. Lots of healing capacity. Comfey sort of gets around any sort of priority issues by having lots and lots of priority itself. So, you know, there's multiple ways we can make that work. Comfey even has a little bit of Trick Room play about it. So that I was happy with. Beyond that, I literally had no plan. It was like, okay, good. I have 2 Pokemon that work together. 9 more Pokemon to go. So where do we go from here next? And I'll be honest, one of the things that I knew was going to be a problem in last season's British Pokemon League was my complete lack of Trick Room coverage. I just didn't have anything. I knew that if somebody pulled Trick Room on me, I was going to lose that round. There was going to be no question about it, because I had literally no coverage. And that was my own fault, but I was sort of aware of it. I was conscious that was a gap. But I wanted to do this ice thing, so I stuck with it. This time around, I'm thinking I want to be able to cover Trick Room. Moltres, you know, we could stick a scarf on it, and, you know, we've got some speed. Cool. But let's think. What's one of the most annoying Pokemon outside of a Dynamax environment? That gives us some nice options in relation to Trick Room. And a Pokemon that I've really, really loved using over the years is the Goth. She's a stunner. in both ability and beauty. Doesn't make it not too weird. But you know, she is brilliant. You know, just her ability to lock opposition Pokemon in whilst you're setting up is of unquestionable value. We've got Fake Out, we've got Sleep strats that we can play with this, we've got Trick Room itself, brilliant plays in relation to Cosmic Power, Stored Power. There's a lot of things that Goth can do quite well. It's not a particularly offensively pressure-driven Pokemon, but it has its uses, and it can certainly give us some coverage for Trick Room, which is what I was thinking. But then I kind of got a little bit carried away with the Trick Room thing, and I was thinking, well, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's get some more Trick Room coverage. And one Pokemon that I'm using sort of universally, I've got like 2 or 3 VGC teams that I'm really having fun with at the moment, and all of them have Oranguru, which is how you pronounce it. It's not Oranguru. Some of you out there are thinking it's Oranguru. You are wrong. It's Oranguru. Where is Oranguru? Oranguru should be around here somewhere. Let's try and bring Oranguru up. Let's get Oranguru on screen. Where is Oranguru? Well, Oranguru should be coming up, but for some reason he's disappeared. Where have you gone, Oranguru? We need you. We need you at the top. No, Oranguru's gone. Well, wherever... Oh, maybe that's where he is. There he is! I've got a lot of Orangurus in here, but that's the Oranguru that I wanted. And again, lots of wonderful Trick Room options there for us. Setting it up in the first place. Instruct, wonderfully priceless play. Symbiosis, very useful, but he's also inner focus. You know, so Oranguru is giving us a lot of options, a lot of potential to work in and around Trick Room. But at the same time, I'm looking at these picks and I'm thinking, okay, I've got Trick Room coverage up there. I've got Trick Room coverage there with the monkey. And then Comfey can give us a Trick Room option. And who knows, I could put Room Service on Moltres and make that really slow. So we've got all sorts of Trick Room options, but really I'm lacking offensive pressure at this point. And I'm also missing any mega options. I'm making all the same mistakes from last season's British Pokemon League. I'm covering one thing in particular. Last year I went hard for ice. Went hard in for ice. That phrasing probably sounds better. I went hard in for ice, and this time I'm going hard in for Trick Room. But where's the power? Where's the power? We can make Moltres power, but in and of itself, it's not overtly powerful. So then I'm starting to think, okay, I need to balance this out. We need some raw power. And I've got a lot of Trick Room things going on here. So how about up in the top there? Where was she gone? Up in the top there? Oh, all the way over there. We've got Ampharos, in particular for Mega Ampharos. In terms of pure power, but not much speed, Mega Ampharos is horrifying. Absolutely massive special attack stats, and very, very slow. It's a brilliant option for Trick Room. We also have some type changing options as well. This thing can go from electric to electric dragon, and that's pretty exciting. So that gives me my core special attacker. And again, you know, stick choice specs on in its base form, and it's pretty potent. But maybe we go with some boosting moves and we stick with it in its mega form and use the raw power potential with some assistance from some of its partners instead. There's multiple ways we can make that work. You know, I kind of like the idea of bluffing with Mega Ampharos, having specs on it instead, and it's still being terribly threatening. So that's quite cool. So we've got special attacking options there. Then Beedrill, Mega Beedrill. I remember watching some games from last season's British Pokemon League where Mega Beedrill really shut down some games. Hugely offensive power this time. Raw power, and in its mega form exceptionally fast. I appreciate I don't have much in the way in terms of speed control outside of Trick Room. But if I'm coming up in this scenario where I can see out someone's speed and have Mega Beedrill finishing a game, the adaptability with its base attack and base speed makes Mega Beedrill a terrifying option. So those two together give me some coverage, and this was the thing that I was really missing out on in terms of last season's British Pokemon League, that coverage. So here we've got one scary special attacker, one very scary physical attacker, and lots of support things going on. I mean, can you imagine Oranguru Instruct next to one of these two things? You know, I get it, Beedrill is as fragile as damp paper, but nonetheless it hits hard. Give it a chance to hit twice hard in one turn? Yeah, that could be pretty cool if it's possible to pull it off. So we've got some nice options now that are starting to build up. But also at this stage I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, those two together, electric, poison, Beedrill of course doesn't fly despite being what it is. If I'm coming up against a Landorus team, I have some problems. And so the next couple of picks were very much with Landorus in mind. If I come up against a Landorus team, how do I deal with that? Gliscor's giving us some options. Again, Gliscor with its beautiful poison heal ability gives us some great longevity options. But you know, there are ways in which that can give us some coverage and some countering potential, some capacity to bulk things out for a little bit. So I was thinking with that in mind, but at the same time I want something that can actually hit Landorus, and that is the only reason why Eiscue is there. Okay, Eiscue purely exists in this team for Landorus. So whoever I'm playing who has Landorus in their draft selections, Eiscue is coming, right? There's no point bluffing or hiding it. The pure purpose for Eiscue selection is where we face off against Landorus teams. So the little penguin with its broken face is there for that reason and that reason alone. Outside of that, it sort of became an exercise in, okay, I don't have that many points to play with, so we need to start, plugging some gaps. I think early on I actually picked Empoleon. And I picked Empoleon because I was thinking, like, okay, we picked Dark, we picked Fairy, maybe we need to put some Steel in there. Again, gives us some coverage options. Of course, Landorus comes into the mix, that's another problem Pokemon. But nonetheless, it gives us some coverage. But it was that one of those things, you want some water in there somewhere, so now we've got some water. And back with Matrix has routinely demonstrated to us just how versatile and potentially physically threatening Empoleon can be. Truly one of my absolute favourite Pokemon. Probably my favourite starter, or at least final stage evolution for a starter. And that might be because I do a lot of teaching on, the Napoleonic Wars and the final stages of the French Revolution. So there's a little bit of history connections there. But nonetheless, I love the penguin. And we've got two of them. There's like a penguin team we got going on over there. So that's quite cool. My brain is then thinking I've got water, so I should have fire. And really that's where Darmanitan comes in. Again, it's not as threatening as its Galarian cousin, but still, in terms of raw power, Darmanitan is pretty useful and gives us a nice fire coverage option, which is what I wanted. I wanted those coverages coming in. Now, what have we got on the screen so far? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That brings us to our last Pokemon. And at the very end of the draft, I'm thinking, like, I've got 5 points left. I've got some cores going on. I mean, there's a decent fantasy core in there. We've got the makings of, a traditional fire, water, grass core, but I don't have the grass. And I'm like looking at the spread and I'm thinking, well, where's there a viable grass option? For 5 points. There wasn't one. But what there was, and I'm going to make this as beautiful and as big as possible because we're probably never going to see this Pokemon. Sawsbuck. Silly Sawsbuck. Now, you scratch the surface of Sawsbuck, does have some useful abilities. I mean, he's got a Sap Sipper play. So, you know, if I'm facing off against a Rillaboom, which is actually the grass type that I wanted to pick, come round one, it's like I can remember a couple of things and I'm thinking, well, Rillaboom's still on the list. Somehow Rillaboom didn't get bumped out of the most used Pokemon list from last season, which seems bizarre. But nonetheless, he was still in the mix. I want Rillaboom. Who wouldn't want Rillaboom? Lots of people wanted Rillaboom, so we missed out on him. I wouldn't say it was a swipe, because I think pretty much everyone would have quite liked to have Rillaboom in the mix somewhere. But now we've got something that just completely shuts Rillaboom down in the form of Swordsbuck, which is excellent, potentially. I mean, Swordsbuck hits reasonably hard. You combine its reasonably potent, let's say, base attacking stat with Sap Sipper. Again, stick a Scarf on this, stick a Choice Band on it. You know, there's various ways in which that ridiculous Pokemon could have some uses, but ultimately I'm not really expecting to use it very often at all. So we can enjoy its beauty, but chances are we're not going to see too much of it. No, I think this is pretty much the core of the team. Now, in my time over the last 2 years of experiencing and engaging with draft leagues, I have drafted poorly, I have drafted very well, and I have drafted sort of mediocre. I would put these selections on the right side of mediocre. Okay, this is not a set of selections that's going to be, you know, topping the championship. No chance. But it has enough annoying coverage options and modes that we can work. Okay, granted, most of those modes are in Trick Room, but you try and stop this lot setting up Trick Room. Oranguru on its own is going to be getting Trick Room up, regardless of whatever else you've got going on. So there are lots of ways in which this team, I think, can cause problems and cause irritation and annoyance, which is, you know, if I'm playing to my true spirit, if I'm playing to the way that I play Pokemon, annoying people to the point of frustration and just rage quitting because is he really just going to Cosmic Power, Protect, Rest and Store Power this entire battle? It's just, yes, there's a very good chance that's exactly what I'm going to do, because that's how I play, and there's no point hiding away from that, you know? I'm a bit of a stally, grindy bastard of a player. It's who I am, and it's time to embrace that. This team can do that. With Comfey in play, you know, we can stall, we can bulk things out, we can endure, and play the long game. That's what we've got to do. We've got to play the long game on this one, and I think we can make this work. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with this. Like I say, I am under no illusions as to where this sits in the ranking of teams. It's not up towards the top, but it's, I think, potentially somewhere in the middle, and it has potential to irritate any squad that it comes up against. So, to my new friends in the British Pokemon League, I bid you a joyous RNG-free season, apart from when you're playing me, and then RNG's is gonna bitch all over your strats. That's the hope. But yeah, let's have a good one. Really looking forward to it, guys. And yeah, we'll see how week one goes. We'll see if we can annoy things in week one. We're probably not going to get a chance to upload that many games, just because, you know, real life time commitments and such. But if we can do, we will do. And otherwise, we'll see you in the Discord. See you soon, guys.